Hey everyone. Looks like we have our first Q&A session here and I got a fair amount of questions. Let's just get the quick ones out of the way and I'll save the long ones for last. Okay. So firstly, two people asked the same question. This is from Drono and Dali on Patreon. How do you get your inspiration for a piece? How do you went about learning them? Who were your initial inspirations? I think is a better structure for this question because it's two people asking. Um, I would say my first initial inspirations were probably Ilya Kushinov. They weren't really called Ilya back then. They're probably I can't remember. It's been a long time, but basically, I initially saw their work on early Tumblr and early Instagram, and I just really loved their rendering style. I was still starting out. This was like fresh out of like going back into drawing again, and I sort of really like Loisha's work. Loisha's been like still really famous, still doing classes. She's great. You can learn a lot of stuff from her videos that she puts out every so often. And another one is someone called CT Chrysler. They're not that active anymore, but I remember in the early days, this was like around 2011, 2012. They were relatively big, and the characters were really expressive. Their OC, they had so many OCs, and they were really inspiring. And they were probably one of the first ones that really got me into like, hey, why don't you try making your own world? And as to how did I go about learning them, it was more about um, I reverse engineered their work. So I would go. Ilya would ever so often, and this includes Lush as well, post their speed paints. And my initial when I first started, I would actually just watch their videos at like 25% speed through their speed paints, and I would see what they would click. I would see how they would do their brush strokes. I would see how they would structure their pieces, their shapes, their colors, and everything. Why did they pick these colors and all these things? So yeah, um, I would recommend. I don't. Everyone kind of learns a little differently, but I would recommend that you would go and watch speed paints, or they have tutorial videos. A lot of people make tutorial videos now, especially me, and just have a look at their videos at 25% speed from start to finish and see how the whole process works, because that's back when I actually figured out a lot of things. And one of my key um, processes now is that I color my line art before I even start filling in the final renders. So it's called the linear burn method, and I don't think I've seen anyone else really cover this yet, unless I've missed it. That the art tutorial world is really big, but the linear burn method, I'll probably cover it in a tutorial upcoming soon. But yeah, that's generally how I first got my inspirations and how I went about learning them. Like, can you do this without prior knowledge? Probably not, but it helps to know how to have the tools to reverse engineer and like monkey see monkey do your way through the art world. It'll take you really far. But yeah, anyway, that's how I did it. Okay, this is from anonymous asking, what's your favorite music genre? I'm one of those people where if you found my playlist, it'd be really confusing because I have music like this. I just have to step in here because I want to add that YouTube's copyright system is going to strike me if I play the music. So generally, I have a lot of things that I like. So it can go from rock to like Japanese classical music. It's a lot of things. It's really hard to explain. But I grew up on like My Chemical Romance and Bring Me the Horizon and stuff like that. But I listen to everything now. Okay, that's it. This one's from Rossum. Uh, they asked, "Do you see yourself making more merchandise in the future, like keychains and the likes?" Currently, I am tied to Shibe Inc. They handle the majority of my merchandise over in the States, and also they handle the international merchandise and the such. I currently don't see them doing these things. I have made stuff with them, like blankets and other miscellaneous things. But no keychains. I don't know how to translate my I don't know how to translate my work into keychains yet, because I would generally have to make it specifically for keychains. As you can tell, for those that have owned my stickers are just A5 versions of my existing artwork. I don't have stuff that's made specifically for stickers, but I do eventually want to, especially the local cons that I go to, make cards, like very special card types. But we'll see how that goes. That's still pretty far down the future. BP Line asks, ooh, this is a very interesting one. What do you think is a good personal deadline? I think that it kind of depends on the person. Some people don't have a very expendable um, work week structure where they have a day job. Not everyone does art full time. Um, they have other commitments. They have family members, such and such and such. But generally, I think a good personal deadline for a project, especially in this day and age, especially if you would like to grow from it, post it online regularly with and catching up with certain topics that you might enjoy. I would say probably 1 week. 1 week turnover time is a good one. 2 weeks maximum. Okay. Wait. Let me restructure this. I think that minimum 1 week is good, but I wouldn't go over the 2 weeks. I personally have this problem, and I've talked to other people where a lot of artists that I've experienced and have talked to, they get bored of their artwork. As in, the initial drive to have drawn something and create something is very different when you have already spent about 4 to 5 days on it. Because the first day, you're very excited to get this started. And by the third or fourth day, a lot of people tend to start slowing down as the initial motivation just kind of dies down because your idea has already come to paper. So I would say 1 week minimum is probably the good safe zone, because as you get more bored, you start creating more details, and you start making decisions that actually make the work sometimes worse. I'm not saying this is like that it can apply to everyone, but I personally experienced this. I've talked to other people that have experienced this, that the longer that they work on something, the more that they start to dislike it, and the less that they feel like they have confidence in showing people the artwork. Um, Being able to finish something in a reasonable amount of time is a skill in on itself, and I would rather that people kind of exercise this skill. It's a very useful skill to have. But yeah, 1 week, 2 week. Yeah. This is from Anonymous. Is Sin nice to anyone, or is everybody a blood bag to him? Well, currently in lore, this is besides that one or two times where he's interact with my two other OCs, Kosei and Yonu. Besides that one time, Sin is just one hungry motherfucker. Okay, this guy just wants to eat. He's been asleep for a very long time. He just wants to eat. Let my man eat. All right. Don't let him go hungry. That's it. Simple as that. Okay, this is an interesting one. I can't say or pronounce your name. I'll try my best because I had to translate your question from, I'm pretty sure it's Turkish. I hope it's Turkish and I didn't translate this one. Merhaba ziz zlenyer animation. I hope I did my best, but basically you asked, will you teach me eye, mouth, hair, body construction, and can you recommend me resources to learn more? First part of the question, yes, I will get around to it eventually. I have a lot to cover. Second part of the question, can you recommend me resources to learn more? Okay, so the world has kind of changed from when I started learning. When I first started, I had to study Loomis. Loomis is a very famous artist back in the old, this is about 100 years ago now, or 80 years, I don't really know anymore. But he was a very famous artist. He set the standardization for certain Um, a person should be this tall. There are this many heads. Their shoulders are this wide for this specific sex, and they are this many heads apart. One hand should only go down to this amount of length, so on and so forth. Um, Especially with eye, mouth, hair, body, all this stuff, he kind of set this standard that doesn't really work anymore because the way the art industry has changed is that you're not learning art to be able to apply for a job that has certain requirements of you. Requirement being able to understand Loomis, being able to understand anatomy. There's not a lot of jobs that require this anymore, so this requirement has kind of disappeared over time. But generally, if you want a baseline, I wouldn't really recommend this, but if you really want a baseline, Loomis is probably the way to go. But if you just want to learn, like, oh, I want to draw eyes, I want to draw mouth, I want to draw hair, specifically the kinds that I like, I would just look at a specific artist that you enjoy and just try to do it like them. How I started, as I answered earlier in this video, that, oh, what are your inspirations and how did you go about learning them? I reverse engineer how other people do it. If you go back and find my older work from 2011, 2012, you can see the inspiration of how I drew my artwork compared to these artists. They're almost like one for one an imitation of another artist's style, and over time, I have grown to try to take what I've learned from these artists and apply them continuously with my growth. And I think observational skills are more important than practical skills, because being able to see something and break it down to, like, okay, the eye is shaped this way, that means that I shape this eyelashes in this way before you even touch a pen on the paper. I think observational skills are way more important before you start to get into practical, because everyone can do studies, but how much studies and how much you can absorb from a study depends on you being able to recognize the practicality of the work that you're applying. So yeah, just there are so many tutorials out there right now. Just pick one, honestly, from the person that you enjoy, because there is no requirement to be a good artist anymore. Anyone can be a good artist. And lastly, this is from Chrissy Draws. What's your method for drawing big chompers? Okay, great. I will now move it on to a quick tutorial over here. All right, how do we build chompers? Okay, I got a head here ready, but generally I want to just keep it relatively simple at first. All right, so I don't actually draw the interiors of the teeth if I can avoid it. I usually go for something really simple, but I'm initially I'm very inspired by how Hori actually draws his characters for My Hero Academia. Um, he does it big, he does it bold, he makes the teeth big. I think that's very expressive. So I've also reverse engineered a bit of his work. So I usually just start like this. Okay, we'll make it really nice and quick. If I'm doing like a simple smile, all right, we'll just start with a mouth shape, a quick mouth one. There we go. And I like to find the areas in which the teeth bend inwards into the mouth and back down into the jawline, and that tends to be at the corners. One here, the other one right there. Let me just clean this up a little bit more. Okay. And when you do this, you can kind of already see the shape forming, right? So if I fill this in with a shadow, it's like, okay, so you can kind of tell that the upper row of the teeth is on the top, and it's also separated by the little line in the middle. Depending on how you want it to be more obvious is how thick you want the sides to be. So generally, this is a pair of big chompers you got here. They're pretty big, yeah. So we can reapply this too, where you can even go ahead and add a set of the gums. I think the teeth is only teeth if you can see the gums, and a lot of the shape structure is caused by the gums. So we can do a little bit of it in the middle. No, actually, I like doing the canines first, right? So we have a little bits on the canines. Can do bits on the sides. You can see it's already starting to form. And depending on how much you put it in, the more realistic it gets. So if I start forming, like putting more and more, like say on the bottom, like here, you can start to see it's like, okay, it's getting a little bit more realistic now. So less is sometimes more, right? Start. Here you go. Generally we don't tend to see our bottom gums that often. You would really have to, if you pull your face down right now, you really have to pull your lips down on your bottom jaw to be able to see the gums there. So we can cut that back a little bit, right? Just cut it back. Yeah, we got a pair of chompers, and we can even do interesting mouth shapes, right? You can do something like this, and you can do the lower bit first. You do one size like this, and then you do another set on the inside where the tongue should be. Just imagine this is the tongue, right? And your teeth tends to shape around your tongue, and I would say that the majority of being able to do chompers is understanding the negative space, this empty space right here where you can see the inside of the lips, or the cheeks, sorry, not the lips. And here you go, add a little bit more the chompers really quickly, like that. Start to see them form. And if you would like to go ahead and just emphasize that more, you can shape the actual teeth in the bottom layer. So I can do a little fang like that. Same thing with here. There you go. A bit chompy now, right? And then sometimes you can even do what else can we do actually? From the top view. So it's from the top view, we won't be able to see much of the bottom teeth, but it's just a reverse of this one, but we're trying to look at the top layer instead. So you can go right, that's the top here. Start using the gums a little bit more, and then we'll shade in the top layer of the teeth right here. Same thing over here. Keep it nice and simple. There we go. When one object is in front of the other, the lines are thicker. That's how we emphasize the line work here. There we go. So I've since been applying this kind of style to a lot of my work. This is like the most basic version of it. I've done variations of it. So if I was to do maybe like some chompers here, right? So we'll start with the outer mouth. We want to make them smile and go up. So let's just make it a big, wide smile. Right? We do the negative space, like so. Right, same thing here. Cut across. Maybe we want to emphasize the top layer a little bit more. So. All right, we're just following this same method that we did here. Add a little bit of gums. A nice pair of chompers right there, reading their teeth. Super simple, of course. I mean, I could refine it a little bit more, but generally, you can even open it up a little more. We just add a little bit on these lines. There, slightly more ajar now. And we can open it straight up like that. And then re-add in the teeth that we took away. And the mouth is open. There we go. Nice pair of chompers right there. I hope this helps. I mean, I could go into a longer tutorial about teeth, but generally it's just trying to keep it as simple as you can. Do not, depending on how the art style you want to go to, do not draw individual bits of teeth, because it tends to come out looking very medical, and that's something we don't want. We don't want, unless you're a dentist. If you're a dentist, why are you here? But yeah, anyway, there it is. Thank you all for your first batch of Q&A questions. I'm looking forward to doing more of these. I hope the questions also get more interesting. But yeah, thank you. If you like these, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment. It helps with the algos, such and such. And yeah, see you guys around.